I'm here. Ryan?
Yeah, hi, how are you, Michelle?
Fine, how are you? Yeah, sorry about last month.
Yeah, it's okay. Those things happen.
I guess when I wrote them down, must have written down the wrong.
No, so I'm also following an old format with how I write these groundwater management reports, and sometimes it's not as clear as it could be.
Well, and I usually just use the numbers in the actual text, but in the board packet, but you were giving additional numbers that were sort of mid-month last time, and I think that's where it got kind of all.
Okay. Yeah, it looked like we compared the average of the drought wells to the average of the total 23 or 24 monitoring wells.
Yeah, I think that was the.
And there's usually about a 3 to 4 foot difference between the two.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You still got the point across.
I will go back to using the document only.
Either way, the document's not always perfect. I'm known to make typos too.
Okay. Well, everything looks on the documents fine tonight. All the on the groundwater management report, all that is correct.
Yeah, except that we've received some more rainfall since I wrote that.
Yeah, but usually I base it on the date that it's in the report, so that I'll say as of the 20th of January, not as of
today.
Yeah, no, I usually do it based on the date that's actually in the report, because it's really the only way for it to match what you guys have been putting out publicly.
Sure.
So.
Do you have any questions about anything I can try and address or look up ahead of time?
No, I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, there's not a lot going on today, right? It's mostly discussing groundwater management. Is there going to be any, are you guys going to change the drought?
My recommendation is going to be not to do that tonight. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Because of all of the rain that we're expecting in the next week
exactly.
or so?
Yeah. It's two things. It's the, expecting rain. It's also trying to follow our water shortage contingency plan. And, when you start putting restrictions on people, that can have serious impacts. So we want to make sure before we start restricting people's allotments that we really have the most accurate and current data, because we might get a late winter rain or a early spring rain or a late spring rain.
Well, yeah, I guess what I've been told is that this is going to be an atmospheric river coming through.
Yeah, I have heard that rumor too, that we might get 4 to 5 inches in the next week or so.
Yeah, so.
And I sure hope we do.
It was actually not necessarily a rumor because it came from a weather person.
Okay. Well, in my observation, all weather people can be rumors.
Well, they make the best guess they can with the available data.
I used to joke that would be the ideal career, because you still have a job even if you get it wrong. You make the best educated guess you can with the data you have in front of you, but it's always subject to change.
Yeah, weather is just is like that. So, hey, I mentioned to Katie, I sent her a note back. I don't know if you saw it, but just today when I was getting on, I realized, it'd be better when she sends out the agendas if she could just, paste the link for the Zoom. It's just faster to click on the link than it is to.
We just discovered that about an hour ago, actually.
Yeah, I would just make, go ahead and send a PDF as is, but I would just copy that particular part of it into the email. So
yeah. So on Friday, this, she's only been here a week, really. And
yeah.
Friday, which is wonderful. I'm really happy to have help. Friday was her first attempt at sending some of this information out.
Mm-hmm.
and we had some pretty major in-house emergencies come up. So I wasn't in the office to direct or oversee.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, we got it.
yeah. And when I got back into the office, she was done for the day and had gone. So I just sort of had to hope that it was done correctly.
Well, I figured it out. So, I mean, I've been on using Zoom now for a while, but I figured people who weren't on Zoom as long as I've been might have trouble.
Yeah. And my goal would be to reduce that amount of trouble for anyone. So I think
Well, you also might, and I didn't put this in there because I was just going to mention it to you. You might want to not have a password on it because it's supposed to be a public meeting, and I don't see a.
I did click, and it wouldn't give me that option to remove the password.
Well, I think when you first set it up, maybe, because usually most of the ones that I join don't have a password.
Yeah, but I'm a little new to Zoom. I was just starting to get comfortable with Uber Conference, and then this new board said they were more comfortable with Zoom.
Yeah, well, it's definitely used more
More
by everybody else. So, but it's very similar. I mean,
in my observation, we get more video participation through Zoom than we did through Uber, and I like to see the people I'm talking with.
did you know you're currently recording?
Oh, I did not realize that. I thought I had the video stopped.
Nope, it's currently recording. I can see
it's my video was what was stopped. Yeah, I just asked it to record all the meetings.
Yeah, no, that makes it a lot easier for you guys. So I'm going to step out and get some water. I'll be back. Good evening, Harold.
Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Harold. I was just chatting with Michelle from the Beacon.
Okay, good.
She had a similar observation to the one you made just recently, regarding posting the link in the meat of the email when we send out the agenda.
Yeah. In looking at this, it's something that we're going to have to deal with in the future because having the link that is you're not able to copy it. Doesn't work.
I think you're right. The ones I was sending out, I was putting the link in the body of the email and then the PDF of the agenda. And I think Katie just did the PDF of the agenda, but
yeah,
she still got it out, which
Yes, yeah, we did. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Harold. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. Have you got your shot yet?
I did.
Oh, fantastic.
Got it on Sunday.
Where did you have to go?
We went to the Adventist Hospital here on the coast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got it through, we're, Annie and I are patients at the North Coast Family Health Center, and they are going through their list of folks who are meeting my age bracket and scheduling them.
Oh, nice.
They have vaccine. I understand they're running short on vaccines.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that you got it. I'm hoping that my husband will get one soon.
I hope you can. Well, I hope both of you can.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be later because I'm below the threshold, but he is above the threshold. So.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Unless they count my asthma, which I don't think they will. So, hi, Jim.
Well, hey, how are y'all?
Fine.
You talking about the rollout?
The vaccine rollout, yeah.
Yeah.
I was fortunate, Annie and I were fortunate enough to be able to get the vaccine last Sunday.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
The first one, though, right? You still have to get the second one.
Yeah, the second one comes in February.
Did you get to the Moderna?
Yes, I did.
That's great. Yeah.
I'll take whatever they give me.
Yeah.
That's
I agree.
where I was at.
Yeah, I prefer.
Yeah. Yeah, my mother lives in Florida, and she had her first Moderna the first of the month, and so she's going the end of this week for her second. So,
oh, good.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yep. So, but it was pretty chaotic. It was it was a mess.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. My experience was just the opposite. It went clockwork smooth. I mean, they gave us a time to show up. We showed up at that time in, spent the 15, 20 minutes being evaluated and on our way.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, mom, they had a time for her to for the vaccine. And so they showed up a little early, and they had basically a 3-hour wait.
what a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really shows there's
And
lack
that,
of planning on the vaccination end.
and that was,
Yeah.
where was that at, Jim? That was in Midwest somewhere?
No, that was in Florida.
In Florida? Oh,
Yeah, around Orlando area.
well, at least it wasn't cold.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the advantage.
Right,
If you were waiting out and you were like in Maine or something, it would,
right, right.
that's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, they had air conditioning on, in fact, so yeah, it was pretty good.
There's the advantage.
Yeah.
Hello, Katie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Hey, Katie?
Hi, hi, hi.
Katie, I'm Michelle. I write for the Beacon.
Oh, hi, Michelle. How are you?
Nice to meet you. Welcome aboard.
Terrific.
Hey, Christine.
Hi, Harold.
How
Or
are
are
you?
you talking to the other Christine?
No, I was talking to you. I was saying hello.
Oh, well, hello to you as well. You can always call me Tina, Harold.
Thank you, Tina. I will do that. And we have Dan Potash in the meeting. Dan, welcome.
Thank you, Harold, and everyone else.
Hey, Dan, are you happy that you're no longer on the MHRB?
Well, yes. Since short answer is yes, the longer answer is it's troubling.
In what respects? I mean, the town, in terms of trying to preserve its heritage, is having a difficult time.
Yeah, no, I think I think it's going to be a big challenge to get more interest on the board, and then their work is going to, as hard as it was when you were on it and I was on it, I think this pandemic has completely changed the.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It is going to be difficult. I feel incredibly fortunate that we were able to get a 5-member board going forward on, for the sewer district. And I can just imagine how hard it is for the MHRB to try to come up to speed.
Yeah, I think they're equally challenging positions to be in many different ways.
Yep. So we're waiting on 2 more board members, and then we'll start the meeting. Hi, Christine.
Hi, sorry. Got to toggle between the mute and unmute.
That's all right, not a problem. I want to thank you for all the work you've been doing.
It's your end.
The description of that will come out in the meeting, but ahead of time, while we're a little informal here, I just want to express my thanks. I know you've been really going overboard for us. I do appreciate it.
I think you're almost in the clear.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Well, we do have a quorum, but I am going to hold off starting the meeting at least for a few more minutes. There's Maggie.
Hey, Harold.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
Oh, glad to see you on board.
Yep, thank you. Good to be here. So we're waiting for Denick and, I'll wait for another couple of minutes and then we'll start.
Harold, can I ask you a question that's a sidebar, just to know what the procedure is? I had a question about the bill for the legal services for both the attorneys. Do I do that in a closed session or do I do it in an open meeting?
Well, we're going to be talking about the financials, and we're going to be asked to approve the expenditures. So the
Yeah.
appropriate time would be
Right.
when we are discussing the expenditures and our approval of them.
Yeah, I get that part and I got a copy of their bills, but I didn't know if it would be confidential information about any litigation if I did it during an open meeting.
Yeah, it's the only discussion that we should have there is the bill properly paid or not?
Yeah, okay, but I want to have another discussion about that.
Well, if you want to have discussion about legal, then we need to go into closed session.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, it looks like Nick may be delayed a little bit. So I think we're at 5 minutes after 5 here, according to my clock. I'm going to call the
You know, it wouldn't be a
January
bad idea to
25th
give Denick a call.
MCCSD board meeting
I'll do-
order.
I just sent him an
And I would like to just request that
There he is.
if you're going to be speaking as a comment from the public or anybody, that you introduce yourself so that we have an idea of who it is that you're talking. I'd also ask that you limit your comments in public session to 3 minutes. And if you have comments on any of the agenda items, that you limit that to 3 minutes. And finally, I would ask that if you are not speaking, you mute your microphone so that we don't have crosstalk and that kind of thing going on during the Zoom session. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. And I'll ask if we can approve the agenda.
Yeah, I motion that we approve.
Anybody have any changes or issues with the agenda as we have published?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none, we'll go forward into public comment. And this is the time for the public to comment on any items that are not on the agenda. So if there's anybody from the public at this point in time that would wish to comment on anything within our jurisdiction, now's the time. Okay, looks like we don't have any public comment for this meeting. So we'll move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is communications. And for that, I will turn it over to Ryan to let us know if we have any communications. At probably going forward in our next future meetings, I will be asking that question of our board secretary, Christine, Katie, who is Bates, who has joined us tonight. And I want to take this chance, Katie, to welcome you to our board meetings.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So Ryan, any communications?
Yeah, we received one email from Mr. Gomes. I forwarded that email to the board members and responded to it. And that was it.
Okay, very good. So we're now at item 5 in the board agenda, and that is our financial report. And we have Christine McKee here, who has been doing our bookkeeping and accounting for us. And she's going to take us through the financial report that has been distributed to all board members. So Christine, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
All right, good evening, everybody. The report's going to be a little bit different this month. We made the transition from Sage over to QuickBooks. It was a bit challenging given that they are two completely different platforms and they don't integrate well together. So we had about a 90% smooth transition and then a lot of manual cleanup for the last 10%. But we're done. We were able to get it done. And so in addition to that, the challenge is we chose to do the conversion on a calendar year break because payroll is reported on a calendar year, not a fiscal year. And so in order to avoid giving multiple W-2s to employees, breaking up their year-to-date wages, and also impacting CalPERS reporting, we opted to convert on January 1st. The payroll has been successfully moved over to QuickBooks. We are reporting. The employees are receiving direct deposits. I'm not aware of any issues. I guess Ryan can comment if there was, or he'd let me know. We are also at the same point in time dealing with an audit. And the audit is for the prior fiscal year. We were engaged to do the current year forward for day-to-day bookkeeping. It turns out that we needed to be more involved to be able to assist the prior year. We are very limited this time of year. We also provide tax return services and year-end accounting for a lot of clients. And so the timing was perfect. But
Perfect storm, right?
We did, yeah. I looked at Ryan and I said, oh, wow, this is a lot more hours than I expected. But Blake has been great with the accounting firm and we've been working well together. Ryan's been doing a great job in trying to coordinate and get the documents over to them. I believe a draft report is coming out this next week. We do have a deadline of January 31st at the state to upload those numbers. And so I'm kind of holding my breath right now. Hopefully we can get that draft in. If it's not finalized, I will put in the draft numbers and then go back and amend it in February, just so we're compliant in deliverables on the due date. With regards to we've done the conversion, we've done that. The financials, the financials that you had before, when you looked at the P&L, it kind of just put everything on one page, but it didn't have a lot of meaning in the format. It was just a long line vertical of here's a bunch of expenses, figure out what you want to do with it. So we took the audit report, which is how the state wants to see it, how your third parties want to see it. And we took that and we built into QuickBooks to follow that same format. When we go through the financials, I will show you how they're broken down into the different categories. And also for budgeting purposes, when the finance team goes to work on that, they're not going to be pulling their hair out trying to figure out what the run rate of fixed expenses versus variable. It's going to be pretty clear to them. So we went through and we did that as well. In addition, on top of all of this other information that we've been working on, we're looking to bring the district forward into electronic billing. This will allow customers to opt in to pay via ACH, which is a debit to their bank account, their monthly fees automatically. A lot of people have been asking about this. With QuickBooks, you now have that ability. So we've already created an ACH form. I believe the board has seen, or certain members of the board have looked at that template. They're working with Ryan on it. I started it. It's on your guys' end to finish it. And then we would like to send that out for people to sign up. And so we're hoping, I believe, for March for the kickoff and for members or for the clients to be able to pay. And what that happens is it's really great because the bill auto bills, the money's collected, it hits the bank account, it posts to their account, and there's not a person. It's actually all integrated and it will give you more time on your hands and less time of me. And that's a good thing. So that's underway right now. Some of the other things that will look to evolve is some of the tracking reports that we're going to do on the projects. It needs to be a little bit more clearer for the next go round of audits. We've completed, as of December, the funding from USDS, on the loan side. We've now stepped into the grant side of that. And so we need to make it so it can clearly be delineated. The books are delineated, but for reporting purposes, there's a few more things that we need to do to streamline that. So that's in process. Going to the report that was provided to you, I'll just stop right here. Are there any questions of anything that I've said in that long-winded brief? Harold, I think you're muted.
The only comment or question that I have, Christine, is the board finance committee is probably going to be meeting in sometime in the not too distant future to take a look at our budget and whether we need to make some adjustments. Would you be willing, or would you be able to assist the board at that time when we have that meeting?
The challenge is we're in full tax season. What I can do is sit you down and give you some strong guidance so you can go after your numbers quickly and mentor from a distance. How's that?
Well, it would always be Zoom.
But it would be, I wouldn't be involved in the day-to-day of it, but I can give you guidance in how we establish what are fixed costs, what are one-time costs, what are our ongoing, what are our variable costs. They're a consistent percentage of the income that you're making.
Yeah.
And what are your one-time incomes that we need to eliminate? Sometimes the property tax changes. And so I can go through that.
What I was concerned with is we're going to have a meeting, a committee meeting of probably an hour or 2 hours to just begin to look at the process. And I was wondering if you might be available to kind of assist and guide us in that meeting.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm going to move on. After the cover page, the approval for disbursements, because of the year end and the timing and the holidays and everything that was going on, you guys had to do a catch up meeting. And so the last approval was for October disbursements. So I've combined November and December into this to bring you current. And so the total disbursements for November is $41,933.80. The total disbursements for December is $41,860.02 for a grand combined total of $83,793.82. That is the form that you'll be signing for should you approve and decide to move forward. And then the following page is a breakdown of the disbursements that support those numbers. The first order is by check number. You will see that the check numbers started at 15,105, and then it stops at 15,09, and then jumps to 15,128. We had a batch that got missed when we grabbed in the file, and so we went back. If you look at the prior reports, those numbers are from the prior month, so we used up those checks. They were just missed in the poll. And then we go back to our normal check numbers and our run rate. When you look down the check numbers and you see ACH, which is towards the bottom of it, that is automatic debits to the bank account, such things as payroll taxes, pensions, credit card payment for the statement balance, which you receive and approve, direct deposit fees by Sage. It's, I think, $1.35 per employee. And EDD, which is the Employment Development Department, that's the state taxes, and then also the direct deposit for the employee's payroll. Are there any questions so far?
I have one question relative to one check, and that's check number 15142 in the amount of $18,000.
That is for the diving work that was
for
done?
the diving, okay. That was for the examination of the outfall.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
How'd you like that? Pretty quick.
Yeah, you were right there.
We pay special attention to those larger numbers.
Yeah, so do I.
All right, and any questions? All right, moving on to the balance sheet. With the consolidated bank accounts, the total bank account balance as of December 31st is $284,309. That does not include the $471,000 that is invested in a state bond. Is it, Ryan, what is it invested in? The LAFCO? Is it LAFCO?
LAIF.
So that those operating balances of 284,309 does not include those reserves that were moved over. On fixed equipment and assets, that's the balance of the assets there. There's been no changes or investment in this last quarter, bringing the total assets to $7.6 million rounded. Flipping the page, huh?
I do have a question here on accumulated depreciation.
Yes.
Is that total over time or is that annual?
Balance sheet is always cumulative.
Cumulative over time. Okay.
Profit and loss or income statement is always just for the calendar or fiscal year.
Thank you.
Harold, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
Under assets, you've got just above total current assets, you've got other current assets,
Yes,
471,000.
that's the 471,000 that we were just talking about, the LAIF investment.
Okay,
You have inventory, that's combined of two accounts, inventory of $1,958 and total investment with LAIF of $469,107.
okay. It would be helpful to have something more detailed than other assets. there.
That's how it
Going forward.
Okay, we classify per GAAP standard. So what we can do is we can just expand it out so it doesn't summarize as other.
It could be called either district reserves or equipment replacement fund. Those
You
are
can,
the two.
you can, in your report, you can put something in parentheses, can't you?
This is a report. This is a financial report, so it's not a personal notations. We could put it in the front page of the report if you'd like.
I understand that you need to conform to standards. It's just that when there are large amounts, it would be helpful to,
I think that we misunderstood. So what I said at the beginning is it's collapsed.
Right.
It's combining the inventory with the LAIF, and I said I would expand it, but the current title is LAIF Investments. Is that acceptable?
that's fine.
to you? Okay.
that's fine, yeah.
Can I ask a question, Ryan?
Sure,
LAIF stands for Local Agency Investment Fund.
correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Christine.
Okay. Oh, I do want to roll back. Accounts receivable as of 12/31 is down to 25,577. Over the last few months, we have worked very hard to try to bring the accounts current. And right now we are sitting as of 12/31 with a past due balance of about $8,000. So it has gone from first a 50,000 past due down to a 30,000 past due, all the way down to 8,000. So good job to the team at the office, as well as we did change the billing to go to statements and include the invoices. So people were getting to see that they had an open balance. And I think that helped as well.
That's great.
On to the liabilities. Accounts payable is currently balanced at $174,767. Of that, $149,568 is a check payment due to Wallen Construction, which is for I don't know. The screen's changing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. It was rotating through each picture and I didn't know what I did. So I apologize. It's Wallen Construction. And so of the 174.7, 149,000 of it is one vendor, and that's for the primary projects that's happening at the property. The other balance is 25,000, of which the largest next vendor is SHN Consulting Engineers for $8,842. Down to the accruals and current liabilities. Accrued payroll is an estimation based on payroll for the month that is earned but not paid. Accrued peers and federal taxes are taxes that or CalPERS that we owe but still not paid. There's a timing differential in payroll taxes. The day that we pay the payroll is not the day that we trigger the payment to IRS and EDD. So there can be up to a 10-day difference in timing. Accrued vacation is the how much vacation was accrued on the books as of, and this is done annually. So this is as of 6/30/2020, saying what the balance of accrued vacation is for the employees, unused vacation. And then your CIEDB loan of $269,031. And then the USDA note reflects the total loan portion only. Grants are now being netted to the project, the capitalization of the project account under assets. And again, we'll come up with some reports to further delineate that information. But this loan is full per the contract, and you are paying interest and payments on it currently. We'll get into that in just a moment. Under equity is your prior retained earnings and restricted and unrestricted accounts, as well as your cumulative fiscal year net income, the last line net income, and that balances out your liabilities, and your equity equal your assets. And there we have a balanced sheet. Moving on to the income statement, we have December and November and also year to date reflected. As you will note, the differences in the income for December versus November. December total revenues was $101,589 versus $44,173. The largest differential is $58,540 came from general property taxes in December. So that doesn't happen every single month. The other accounts were minor differences. Moving down to your expenses, primarily rolling through your expenses. The first page that I provided to you in this income statement is a summary. It's collapsed. The detail follows behind it where it's not collapsed. So you can see all the numbers behind each of the expenditures in detail by line. So this is sometimes easier to look at for our speaking purposes. And then when you have more time, you go line by line on the next reports. So down onto the expenses, this is where we did the modification. Before in Sage, it was just all the expenses listed. Here we have categorized by personnel and benefits, collection, groundwater management, sewer, treatment, general and admin. So when we're comparing the two periods for those two different expenditure columns, we see that November was higher than December by about $14,304. When we look to see where that was primarily driven from, it was under treatment, with a differential of $18,148. I'm sorry, I'm flipping my screens here. So under treatment, we had higher labs. We also had permits come up for renewal. The County of Mendocino is very much behind in their permit process, so it's not aligning with the prior year and the renewals. So we're not seeing an apples and apples. I believe that most of these permits renewed in October, but we're seeing them come through in December. Everybody's really behind this year. And also in addition to those expenses, let me expand the treatment. So your state permit fees for December were $1,800. For November, they were $7,150. So that was a differential of $5,300. In addition, your lab supplies were up by $5,000. $760 in December versus $5785 in November. So lab supplies, it all depends on what they're doing out in the field and how the testing's going through with Alpha laboratories. But also at last minute, I caught that there was a legal bill that was coded to lab supplies. So that has to be reclassed when we were going through the review. So $4,900 of that will move up to legal. And then that should bring you fairly close in line with your normal run rate. Is there any questions?
This is a much cleaner report than what we have been used to receiving. I really want to thank you for redo on this, and having the detail behind it is very, very helpful. Thank you.
I do have one more point to make is interest expense for November. That 65,710 is due to the USDA loan. And Ryan, did we ever get the full details on that? We were requesting the backup for the calculation on that.
No, Quinn Donovan did not give us any more than what I already forwarded to you.
This number could change between principal and interest. Right now it's 100% interest, and we're waiting on the support to get to what we need to do with that number. Right now it's sitting on the profit and loss. And then the remainder of the report is just fully detailed out income statement. So that concludes my report for the night.
Well, thank you very much, Christine. I really appreciate the thoroughness in which you've put this together, as well as the work that had to go in to make the conversion to make it happen. I think it is a much easier to read and understand set of reports than what we have been getting in the past.
Great.
Jim, I see you're nodding your head, so I think you might agree.
I agree.
Certainly.
I agree.
Much better.
So at this point, what we need is a motion and a second to actually approve, if we go back up the report, to approve the expenditures, which is the beginning of the report that Christine made. And basically that's saying that we are approving the disbursements for the month of November of $41,933.81, and for the month of December, $41,860.07.
Right.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, so it has been moved and seconded that the report as submitted has been approved. And so at this point, I'm going to, as we have been in the past, I'm going to go ahead and ask the board for their votes. In the future, I just want everybody to know that starting at the next board meeting, I will be asking Katie to do the roll call of the votes for us. Okay, so at this time, then I would like to call the vote. And Christine
Aye.
and Denick
Aye.
and Maggie.
Maggie?
Maggie, your vote? I don't know if she's hearing me or not.
Looks like her
I
screen
think
is.
she's frozen, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Screen just froze.
Oh,
Okay, sorry about that. Aye.
okay. And Jim,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So the expenditures for November and December have been approved. They will be this sign off sheet. We all have to sign this approval sheet. Will be available in the district office. Ryan will have it. If you could stop by at your convenience to sign it, that would be appreciated.
It's in a pink folder on the front counter.
Okay.
So Harold, I had a question about meter readings, and I don't know if it should be now or later. Because we used to get the meter readings reminder from Jody, but I don't get them anymore.
Can I ask that we have matters from board members at the end of the session? We hold it for that.
Yes, thank you.
And Christine, I know your time is valuable. I want to thank you very much for all of the work you've done here. And if you'd like to leave our meeting, we certainly understand.
Have a lovely night, everyone. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, new business. We are as we all know, we're a new board. And at the last board meeting, we assigned ourselves to various committees. And I wanted to take some time during this board meeting to discuss just the general idea behind the committees, answer or address or explore questions that you as committee members may have regarding the committees that you may be on, and just to kind of refresh things so that we kind of remember which committees we have. Finance is myself and Maggie, and personnel is myself and Maggie. Plant operations is Denick and Tina. Safety is Denick and Jim. Street lighting is Denick and Maggie. Water management is Tina and Jim. And groundwater management advisory is Tina and Jim. So those are the standing committees of our board. We have not had any committee meetings yet. I think we will be having a committee meeting at the end of this board meeting. That will be the first, or actually we're going to have a closed session meeting, but we will be having committee meetings, particularly in the finance area and possibly in the operations area. And certainly every month we have committee meetings with the Groundwater Management Advisory Committee. So that's kind of my introduction to this. I'm going to ask Ryan if you have anything that you'd like to add, and then open it up to all the other board members for discussion.
I don't have a whole lot to add. I brought this question up to Mike Kelly to ask about past practice, and he really said that, you know, committee meetings, there wasn't a whole lot of structure in terms of schedule and how regularly they happen, that they happen as needed. As issues come up that we need to discuss, we ask for, call and plan a committee meeting. He said, for example, the street lighting, he can recall maybe 2 meetings in the last 18 years. And it had to do with when we were replacing the street lights. But other than that, he said, there isn't necessarily a need for a schedule. I'm open to opinion and potentially changing that, but I want to hear what the needs and desires are of the board related to committee meetings.
Okay, so with that, just kind of open it up for free-form discussion for any of you, that if you have any thoughts or ideas or concerns that you, now's the time to kind of talk about them, and let's explore.
So I'll throw out a couple of things. Since I'm on the street light committee, subcommittee, or standing committee, I think it would be helpful to schedule one meeting for that committee so that the committee members and Ryan can just sit down and discuss what's involved with the street lighting, what's the history, and that may be all that we'll need for the whole year. But I'd like to suggest that. And in terms of safety, there's been more involvement with safety, hasn't there been, Ryan?
Absolutely. But again, you know, we have in-house monthly safety trainings, and we've invited members of the safety committee to come down and participate in those meetings. But with everything that's been going on this past year, we haven't had as many of those committee meetings as I would have hoped for.
So again,
historically, we've had more safety committee meetings. Well, actually, you know, I can't 100% speak to that, because in looking through our governance guidelines, I don't believe we had a standing safety committee prior to 2020.
It's true.
so Jim, do you have a thought about that?
Well, you know, I know that I was on the committee when I began. That was March of last year. So I don't know what was actually going on with safety before that. But I think it's an important one for the district. Number one, for the safety of, Ryan, Ed, and Katie, and the folks at the plant. I know that there's a lot of need for like elimination of a confined space, and that was one of the things on Ryan's list. So I think it's an important committee, definitely. COVID always throws in a wrench to all of this to begin with, but going forward, I think it should be something that we had a regular schedule on, hopefully. I don't know if that answers your question, Danik.
If you think it's important, it sounds like we should
Yeah.
work with Ryan and schedule a meeting. These are all public meetings.
Yes.
Brown Act applies. We have to develop an agenda.
Yeah.
Do we actually decide on a committee chair at this point? Or does that happen during the first meeting?
I don't know that a committee necessarily of two people has to have a chair.
We could be co-chairs.
Yeah. I mean, basically you're a committee of two, and the issues that you want to discuss, you're going to want to work out in your committee meetings. I would suspect in front of the public, so that the public is aware. And to do that, you can schedule a committee meeting that is basically discussion of the committee's scope of work.
Yeah.
And action to put in place whatever you decide you want to put in.
Yeah. And as far as committees, or just a general kind of comment on the committees, I've been wondering if it wouldn't be worth our while to maybe expand upon the committees. I know, Ryan, you don't want to hear this, but kind of one that would integrate kind of long-term planning, kind of prioritizing projects that kind of that would help kind of in our spending, so it gets into the finances as well as go ahead.
I'd just like to make the comment that I think that is one of the primary functions of the finance committee.
Okay.
And the way we do that planning and that outlook into the future is through the budget process.
Yeah. Well, and Ryan being part of that committee, then it helps me understand that, because I know that we've got the outfall issue, and where is that a priority as far as being the next thing we do versus the confined space issue versus upgrades to the plant. So
yeah, and I guess I think I understand where your conflict is. We've got a committee for operations, plant
Right.
operations, which really would be the committee that would be making recommendations to the board on what they see needs for the plant.
yeah.
Once those recommendations are made to the board, then it would be the finance committee's job to try and figure out, okay, how are we going to fund what the operations committee is saying that the plant needs? That's
Right.
kind of how I see it.
Right. And it seems like there should be kind of a hierarchy of, here's our needs for the district, okay, here's how we divvy this up to the different committees to make this happen.
That's
Other
a board function.
Pardon me?
I think that's a board function.
Yeah, it is. It is. So anyway, yeah, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head.
So Jim, are you suggesting that, there's a number, and I think Ryan sent out a list that there's a number of important infrastructure pieces, projects
Right,
that need to be done over a number of years.
right.
And that Ryan's done some thinking about that, obviously, that it might be
Yeah.
helpful either in a board meeting or in a particular committee. But I would almost suggest that in a board meeting that we actually have like an hour-long workshop or something.
Right.
Would really welcome your thoughts on this, Ryan, but where we get informed and can discuss and begin and figure out a process to prioritize and begin planning and then integrate that into the finance committee, maybe the operations committee, others, but
Yeah.
Ryan,
Just
you
for
have
the
thoughts?
Well, I agree with the importance of this project or this mission. I like sort of the approach that Harold was suggesting of starting at a smaller level, maybe discussing it at the plant operations level, and trying to put prioritize the list I created, and then bring that to both the full board to see if the board agrees with those as priorities or wants to change the prioritization of them, and then go to the finance committee and see how can we start funding these.
Yeah,
Happy
that's
to do it the full board, but I think it would be longer than a 1 hour meeting. I like the idea of starting at the committee level first. I think that's the intention of the committees.
Mhm.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. I would, from the just looking at the overall plant, I would hope that the plant operations committee would be able to look at what Ryan has produced in terms of our needs, have a discussion within your committee with Ryan, and from that discussion, possibly produce a report to the board that says, here's what we see needs to be done over the next X number of years. And these are the priorities on which we feel the board should address accomplishing these things. And from that, then I think the how we go about funding it, how we go about making the public aware of the needs for whatever the public might have to be involved in this would come out of that. But
Right.
until the board has a recommendation of, and a kind of a blueprint of, hey, here are the next 5-7 years of maintenance requirements, then it'll be up to the finance committee to figure out how much is that going to cost and where are the money's going to come from. That's kind of how I see it anyway. Your
Yeah.
thought, other board members' thoughts on this?
Well, and Harold, it definitely, seems like we do need that kind of blueprint to go forward, for the efficiencies of the committees, so that we're just not meeting to meet. Other than the safety committee, on a regular basis, that makes sense to me. But yeah, it might be that we have a board meeting, after we've given Ryan time to get a list together of priorities, which he has already, but then present it, and then we kind of work on those priorities to be able to kind of get that blueprint of where we're going to go and help the committees with kind of a mission of going forward.
Well, I think it would be Tina and Denix as the plant operations committee meeting with Ryan to come up with the overall suggestion or report to the board. Hey, this is what the committee says or feels based upon the analysis that the committee has done, the board should be addressing. And then the board will have to figure out how are we going to address those things and whether or not we agree with what the committee is saying.
Right.
But at least the committee could give us the roadmap of how to go forward with this particular issue. Similarly, the finance committee, I think, is going to be looking at specifically this year's budget for the next 6 months, is it adequate? And then later on, we're going to have to figure out, okay, for the next year, based upon what we understand our expenditures and revenues to be, what will the budget that we're going to be putting in place for the next year be? And the Personnel Committee is going to be looking at if there are personnel issues that are coming up, and there may well be some personnel issues that we will be facing next year. The Personnel Committee, in conjunction with Ryan, are going to have to deal with. And so that's kind of, you know, the way I see the committee structure happening. I think there will be, for most committees, at least 1, 2, or maybe more meetings during the next 6 months of this, or the remaining 6 months of this fiscal year.
Sounds
So-
like we need to start. Go ahead, Tina. Sorry.
Yeah, so my question is, Harold, the meeting that Denick and I are to have with Ryan, or discussion, would that be public?
Yes.
Yes, okay. That's my understanding of the Brown Act, just confirming, okay.
Yeah, it would be a public meeting that would be agendized, and notices would be properly placed.
And would it be, sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
It would be just like this meeting here.
Right.
And Harold, would it be appropriate if another director, member of the board, wanted to sit in on that meeting?
It would not, because that would make a quorum and it would make it a board meeting. So it basically would be in violation of the Brown Act. It would no longer be a committee meeting.
So if one of us wanted to just sit in as public and not contribute, that would still be considered a Brown Act violation.
You're getting into
Yeah.
yeah. I have thought at sometimes, for example, that I would have liked to have sat in on the Groundwater Management Advisory Committee meetings. And I have refrained from doing so because of the potential
Yeah.
Brown
Yeah.
Act issues that people, and whether it is an actual violation or not, you know, that would be for the Fair Political Practices Commission to determine. But in terms of the optics that it provides for the public, I think it would be a difficult situation.
Okay.
But if we were a board member who wanted to ask a question to a committee, we would do that how?
If you were a board member and you had a question that you wanted to ask the committee, you have the right to talk to one individual board member about any topic.
And then I could write to both of them?
No, you could write to one of them and have a dialogue with that one.
You can
And
also,
then they and the committee could talk to each other about what you had requested of the one.
Okay, thank you.
And you can also write to me about anything at any time.
right.
Yes.
Okay,
And Ryan then has the freedom to be able to talk to both board members at the same time, reflecting your issues or your thought.
okay. Thank you for the guidance.
That's helpful. So I guess on operations, we should meet fairly soon. So we'll be in touch, Ryan and Christina, and we'll figure out a date and get your help, Ryan, with figuring out an agenda. And
Absolutely. I would love to see an operations committee sometime in early February.
Yeah, I agree. As soon as possible would be great.
And from a finance committee, Maggie, I would like for us in sometime in February, as I mentioned with Christina, that I think I'd like to have us look at our budget for the remainder of the year to see if we need to make a budget adjustment.
I look forward to that.
Okay, so we should give, think about the dates that you might want to consider. You and I talk about the dates offline, and then we'll get that to Ryan and he can notice it.
Terrific. Any
Any other discussions on committees? I think it's been a pretty fruitful discussion. Hopefully it's answered some of your questions that you may have.
Yep.
And
That's very helpful.
good. Anything else on this agenda item before we move on? Okay, hearing none, it is time for the superintendent's monthly report. Ryan, I'm going to give the meeting over to you.
Okay, we've had a pretty eventful month. We'll start with the standard report. Operators performed routine repair and maintenance at the wastewater plant during the month of January 2021. We continued with some sewer main cleaning on Main Street and on Covelo Street. And staff are using the nice weather to try and get ahead on some painting around the plant, painting pumps and piping to help protect from corrosion. We have had no requests or transfers of recycled water made during the months of December 2020 or January 2021. District finances. Christine and KMC have been working tirelessly to help complete the annual district audit, convert district accounting to QuickBooks, and maintain regular monthly district financial reports. QuickBooks is now up and running. The audit draft should be completed hopefully by tomorrow. And Christine is also working on an ACH auto debit option for customers. We still have a number of bugs to work out with any sort of changeover and new software, but we are definitely starting to see improvements. As it relates to biosolids, our trailer and transport, this last month we were able to hire Mendocino Coast Express to safely haul our last load of biosolids down to Novato. This was very helpful, and we hope to use them again soon. However, purchasing a truck for this purpose for the district would be in our best interest long term. Construction update. Construction is more or less done. Again, there's still some bugs to work out with alarms and electrical issues, a few punch list items to finish up. The ADA bathroom flooring needs to be redone. But mostly it's electrical and programming at this point. An item that I had wanted to address tonight, but we'll address at a later time, is we're very much in need of some cabinets in our new lab building. Cabinets and shelving and a new sink. And we were initially going to try and purchase this as part of the current construction project. And the estimate I got was $13,000 for one 13-foot cabinet. Now going out and getting estimates on our own, we're able to get 13 feet of cabinet plus a sink cabinet plus some upper cabinets plus a countertop and installation of the countertop for around $5,000.
Yeah.
However, we wouldn't be using the construction funds to pay for that. And then there's no markup and things of that nature. So at some point, I may be asking the board for permission for that expense to go out and purchase cabinets. But right now, I'm going to wait and see what sort of funds are remaining in contingency at the conclusion of the project to see if I can still pay for it with some of our remaining grant funds. I plan to discuss these options in more detail with our operations and finance committee, of which I'm hoping to have meetings with in the coming weeks. The air supply line still needs replacement, and we need further discussion on that. This last Friday, we had some pretty major events here in town. First, we had a call from the Mendocino Art Center that their sewer system was in failure, and they weren't sure if it was their internal system or if it was our sewer mains, but the plumber they hired to come out and inspect led them to believe it might have been our sewer mains. So I spent the majority of Friday pressure washing lines up in and around the art center I was able to resolve the problem, but we were short-staffed that day. And it took away from a lot of things I would have normally been doing to help prepare for this meeting. We returned to the plant to find our primary blower malfunctioning. And when we switched over to our backup, one of our main diffusers blew itself off, well, actually came disconnected from its where it's plumbed in to the aeration basin. And so this was a big problem. Thankfully, there was a safety chain on it, so it didn't sink to the bottom of the tank. But when we switched over to our backup blower, that then went into a fault. And we were then down to our third string reserves, the old 40 horsepower blower that hasn't operated in years. And I was glad that it worked and it got us through the weekend. And today we were able to troubleshoot some of that and get some of the primary equipment back online. But it made for a very eventful Friday. Today we had Eaton here on site testing a lot of the new electrical equipment, and we had PG&E. They came down and shut off all of our power and internet for the first 4 hours of the day. And when we did some tests, such as turning on our generator and simulating a power failure, when the transfer switch kicked on, our blowers then went into a fault because they hadn't had enough time to properly shut down. And so they were attempting to restart without having completely shut down. So they went into a fault and then couldn't be reset. We couldn't clear the alarms. So it's a very, very busy time at the plant, and we're working out a lot of new kinks with the new system. And this is keeping me from finalizing the documents for the audit. It's preventing me from submitting my state reporting. And it's a reason why committee meetings aren't my number one priority. But it doesn't mean that they're not a high priority, and it doesn't mean they won't happen. It's just why they're not happening immediately. Moving on with the project, safety meeting and plant safety inspection. The district is still following county, state, federal, and CDC guidelines regarding COVID-19 safety precautions. The safety officer conducted the monthly safety inspection of the plant. We've had two 30-minute monthly safety meetings, one in December, and the topic was hazard communications, elements of safety. And in January, we had another safety meeting, and the topic was ergonomics, how to break the repetitive motion habit. And I think these were great topics, and we had some really good conversation after the training and the test. There were no sanitary sewer system overflows reported through January 20th, 2020. Basically in the past calendar year since I've been here, there have been none reported. Training. Both myself, Katie Bates, and at least 3 of our board members attended the Brown Act and ethics training held by Mendocino County Counsel Christian Curtis on January 21st. I found it to be a useful and helpful training, and they've sent us certificates for participation in continuing education units that I have here on file. But that more or less concludes the monthly superintendent's report, unless there's any questions.
Go ahead. Sorry. Tina, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. I think that was Michelle. I was looking at the notes here. My question was regarding the biosolids transfer. Let's see, what was the cost on Mendocino Coast Express to haul that last load? Do they charge per load, or is it dependent on volume or weight, Ryan?
They bill us, well, we pay by volume and weight at the disposal site. I want to say we pay approximately $50 a ton. I can give you the exact figures. I have a receipt from there. But the shipping company is just an hourly shipping rate, and they are $90 an hour, and it took them 8.5 hours to make the first run. However, there were some events such as it was their first run. They weren't completely familiar with the route. And on return, Highway 128 was closed and flooded. So they had to divert Flynn Creek through Compshe. So it took a little longer than we might have liked, but you got to account for the learning. And I think on the next run, it will be shorter.
And how often do you haul?
Well,
On average.
So that's a really good question. When you break it down by volume of solids and by weight, I was under the impression we were going to be hauling about once a month.
Mhm.
But there are, our flows have been down due to COVID and due to less water usage. And so that has reduced the number of solids that we're pressing and drying. We've gone through a process that we use sometimes, a decanting process. So we make our sludge a little bit thicker, and then we don't have to press as often. And that delays how often we have to haul a load down. Basically, this was the second load we've hauled since I've been here. And that's, March. So that's, almost 2 loads. The third load might be ready next week. But to say 5 loads in a year, I'd be pretty impressed by that. We initially calculated it would be about a load a month. And I think during normal flow, that would be the way to budget for, is to prepare for a load a month.
And the approximate cost of a truck to haul would be
To lease a truck, to rent a truck?
To buy a truck. You're talking about purchasing a possible truck.
Sure. Yeah, so exactly. I want to say that this first bill came in the $700 range.
Mhm.
And a monthly truck payment, say we had a $40,000 truck, we might be paying in the $700 range. But it depends how long you finance the truck for.
Whether it's new or used.
Exactly. You can't really get a new truck for $40,000 these days unless it's a half ton, and that wouldn't be strong enough to pull what we need to pull.
And if I could just interject here a little bit, the current truck that we have is reaching the end of its useful life. And we are at a point where within the not too distant future, that truck maintenance costs and safety issues will reach the point where we absolutely need to replace it.
Yeah, our current truck, it is a 1-ton Dodge truck, but it's a 2001. It's had issues ever since we bought it. We bought it used. It continues to have issues. Staff has told me they're not even very comfortable driving it to Fort Bragg. I asked them to take a dump run the other day, and that's only to Casper. And they said it sounds like we're missing a cylinder. We might have to have the engine rebuilt. I think we'd be putting good money after bad to try and rehab that truck for anything outside of driving in the town of Mendocino.
Got it. Thanks for the details, Ryan.
Yeah, and we have been pricing trucks for the last 6 months, looking at a lot of different, both local and statewide dealerships, looking at fleet vehicles, looking at new versus used, seeing what financing options are available. A primary goal of mine has been to try and finance this through the construction project.
Right.
And I'm still hoping there'll be some money remaining to do that.
Brian, I have a question still. Thanks, Christina. I was going to ask that same question about the cost. So you got one of my questions. The second question I had was regarding the board members' Brown Act training. Have all of the board members now gone through Brown Act training, or are there still board members that need to do that?
Well, I will let individual board members answer that.
I went through it.
And I went through it.
I've done it, so don't try and bribe me or bring me fancy gifts.
That's right.
Don't worry, the newspaper has no money.
Is it a requirement?
Is it a requirement?
I'm sure it's advised, but I'm curious whether it's a requirement.
That's a
Um,
good question. I'm not aware of it as a requirement. It could be that I'm just not aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on fiduciary, fiduciary and Brown Act in another context, but so I haven't gone through the training for the MCCSD. I guess-
The training was last week that was conducted by the county's attorney.
Yeah.
And so basically they do that once a year. There'll be another opportunity, I guess, next year in January, probably.
Okay.
I was under the understanding that it was recorded. That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you recall too, Jim? Yeah.
That's what
I
I
think
heard.
that's-
Right.
And we've also been provided the PowerPoint presentation from that I'm happy to share with.
Very-
That would be great if you could send that.
Okay.
And so,
And I've got the email from the county person. I will ask for the recording.
so Maggie, you went through it. So Danik's the only one that hasn't gone through the current training.
I went through it years ago, but I'm pretty familiar with Brown Act.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to know, so thanks.
Any
Okay.
other questions related to the superintendent's report?
I don't think so, Ryan. So I guess we can move on to, if there are no questions on the superintendent's report, move on to item number 8 in the agenda, the groundwater management report.
And thanks, Ryan, for your hard work on Friday.
Oh, happy to do it. I enjoy the diversity of this job.
Yeah,
It never
Yeah.
ceases to amaze me what things are going to happen when you least expect it. But it's fun, and I care about every business and every person in this town. So whatever I can do to help. I could tell the manager of the art center was really happy they weren't going to have to relocate their 6.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, great.
Okay, so the groundwater management report. The 2021 rain year. October 1st, 2020 was the beginning of the 2020-21 rain year. Average annual precipitation in Mendocino is 39.72 inches, and average rainfall in January is 7.09 inches. 3.32 inches of rainfall has been measured in the district for the month of January 2020, as of January 20th, 2021. So, less than half. Now, of course, after this report was printed, we got some more rain. But here, let me continue. Total rainfall for the year 2019-2020 was 20.43 inches. Mendocino received just 50.1% of normal annual rainfall during the last water year. By January 20th, 2021, total rainfall since October 1, 2020 was 8.56 inches. As of today, it's 9.16 inches. And that's just 40% of normal for the rain year to date, and 21.6 year of normal for the total rain year. According to the water shortage contingency plan that was adopted May 11th, 2020, the criteria presented in Table 3 should be used each year to determine water shortage onset stage and modified appropriately if there's a pre-existing water shortage, a drought from the previous year, according to the following criteria. If there is a pre-existing stage 1 water shortage, follow the water shortage condition criteria without modification. If there is a pre-existing stage 2 or stage 3 water shortage, modify the water shortage condition criteria recommendation for the appropriate date to the next most severe water shortage condition. So if you look at Table 3, which is on this report, According to Table 3, current rainfall totals would place the district in a Stage 3 water shortage after January 31st, 2021. The fact that the 2020-2021 rain year came in with a pre-existing Stage 2 water shortage means the current rainfall totals in the district would actually move us to a Stage 4 after January 31st, 2021. The average depth to water measurements district-wide in the 23 monitoring wells on January 20th, 2020 was 20.11 feet, about a 5-inch improvement from the December 31st, 2020 measurements. The December 31st measurements indicated the district was still in a Stage 2 water shortage at that time, but rainfall is showing that we're more likely in a Stage 4. August 31, 2020, the MCCSD board voted to rescind the rain-based Stage 4 water shortage emergency and declare a Stage 2 water shortage based on the water shortage contingency plan and depth to water measurements reported from the 5 drought monitoring wells. The average depth to water reported from the 5 drought monitoring wells on 8/31/20 was 23.2 feet. On January 20th, 2021, those same 5 drought monitoring wells averaged 24.02 feet, about 5 feet below where they should be at this time of year. 2020 was a very dry and unusual year. Following the water shortage contingency plan, rainfall totals on January 31, 2021 will indicate what water shortage condition exists. If current patterns continue, I believe we will be in a Stage 4 water shortage after January 31, 2021. However, there's some good news here. There's some reliable meteorologists that have predicted a lot of rain in the next few weeks. Some people say 4 inches, some people say 5, some say even more than that. In the last 2 weeks, the district has received multiple reports of wells starting to recover that have been dry for the past few weeks or few months. So people in town are starting to see some improvement that is good, but it's still not enough. So the superintendent's recommendation is to maintain the current Stage 2 water shortage, evaluate rainfall totals after January 31, and per the water shortage contingency plan, continue to monitor rainfall through February and make a water shortage declaration at the February board meeting. Sorry, that was sort of a long-winded report, but are there any questions related to it?
It was
I guess
helpful, thank you.
I will comment that this is a fairly difficult time in the sense that we are experiencing a very significant water drought, in my opinion, based upon the rainfall that we've had year to date and the groundwater levels in our monitoring wells. I think that giving the additional time to look at what's actually going to happen between now and our February meeting makes a lot of sense, because we'd be going out ahead of time, and if we were to follow the drought indications and the water shortage contingency plan as it looks for January 31st, prior to January 31st, that I think would not be a wise thing to do, because that would say, hey, we should declare a Stage 4 at today's meeting, and I don't think we should do that. So I support Ryan's recommendation that we defer this potential action until the February meeting and take a look at it at that time, with the potential that, depending upon what our rain shows and our depth of water. Primarily, Ryan, as I understand it, it's rain at this time of the year, right? We
Correct.
make our decision on.
Correct.
Okay, so
I'm agreeing with our chair, but I had a question in terms of, Ryan, what is more reliable in terms of determining whether people in the district run out of water, the depth to water or the amount of rainfall, since there seems to be
To do with the time of year, and that water shortage contingency plan lays that out, that rainfall is a much more important factor during the winter, and depth to water is a much more accurate gauge in the dry months of the summer.
Yep.
In the fall and in the late spring, you can use a combination of them.
Okay, but has there been any study to determine with people who run out of water are more likely to run out based on the depth to surface or the amount of rainfall?
That's a more specific question that I should direct to our hydrologist, Mike Maley.
Yeah.
But I believe it's more related to rainfall.
And
It
do you-
is. It. Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Let me jump in here real quick.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, one of the things that Mike stressed to us was the resiliency of our aquifer and the response to rainfall. And it seems that, you know, we do have these cycles going on, but it seems like every winter after we do have a good response of rain, that the aquifer, the water levels do rise, you know, fairly regularly, you know, from year to year, even though we get into a drought situation, you know, late in the seasons. So yeah, from what I've been hearing from folks in town, the neighbors that I had in Ukiah Street, you know, they were pretty much dry in October, November, December. But after the rain that we had for the 2.5, 3 inches there, they slowly began to be able to use their wells again. So it's kind of that response that you're seeing from that rainfall that we got in fall, and then it's replenishing the aquifer and kind of rebounding. So.
And following up on that, does the district get information from where and when the water deliveries occur?
No, is the short answer. We're actually in the process of preparing a letter for customers to request some of that information.
I think that would be really helpful.
Some people have volunteered it, but there's also some concern. It can affect real estate values. If people go to sell their property and say, oh no, you know, we have a great well, we've never run out. And then there's a documented record down here that no, they run out every year and they bought 5 truckloads last year. And
But you know, obviously they want to fully disclose. I mean, that's
I would believe so. But there are reasons people want to keep that information private.
okay. Well, maybe if the request is in a very friendly, non-threatening way, the response would be positive.
Exactly. We're not doing it in any reason to cause a problem for anyone. It's strictly for scientific data so we can help improve our groundwater modeling.
Great. Thank you.
So I have a question, maybe Jim could answer this, but I was reading the 2004 Questa Engineering Report earlier today, and it was just discussing how, and it might answer some of your questions too, Maggie. But it was saying that we need about 9 inches of rain here
Right.
for
Right.
the aquifer to be.
To recharge. Yeah.
So who's affected first? Are the shallower wells affected first, Jim?
Well, if you kind of think how the rain would, you know, replenish those aquifers, the shallow zones would be, you know, basically rebounding first, and then, you know, that there's kind of a lag then between the time that those shallow wells, they're impacted first, but then they're also the recipients of the first rains. But those deeper wells may not have had the same problems as the shallow wells.
Got it.
So, you know, the deeper wells, you know, might still be in the aquifer, the wet zone, you know, even though those wells above have gone dry. But, just thinking about the water going down, there's that, bedrock that kind of is a barrier to quick infiltration. So there's kind of a lag as the water kind of gains, as it goes down. And then over time, it would go down as it infiltrates into that deeper zone. So the shallow wells rebound first, basically, if the deep wells are impacted. Yeah.
Well, it's good to know we have those 9 inches now so that the
Yeah.
aquifer is beginning to recharge. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other comments on the groundwater management report, or our groundwater management situation for the current month? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go to item 9 on the agenda, old business, and it doesn't look like we have any. Item 10 is basically the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. At this point, that's the only item on the consent agenda. So I'm presuming that you've all had an opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any comments or corrections or any modifications that anybody sees that are needed to the minutes?
Yeah, I was telling Ryan when I saw him walking his dog earlier that I thought the format was very easy to read.
Yeah, it is.
There's some stories behind that.
All right, well, the result is positive.
So is there a motion to approve the minutes of the December 16th special board meeting?
Yeah, I motion to approve the minutes of the special board meeting.
I can
There's a
second that.
second for that.
I can second.
Thank you, Christina or Tina. All right, so the approval of the board minute, or the motion to approve the minutes is open for vote. Before I call for the vote, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Tina?
Aye.
And Maggie?
Yes.
And Denick?
Yes.
And Jim?
Yes.
And I vote aye as well. So we have approved the minutes from the December meeting. And now we're to actually move on to matters from board members, item number 12.
Excuse me, Harold, before you move on, can I ask a question?
Sure.
The minutes haven't been put up on the website since last August. And it caused a little confusion at the paper last month. So can you tell me when the minutes for the meetings that were held between August and obviously today will be put up on the website, including the financial reports and the other documents that haven't been made public at this point?
Yeah, I'm the only one to you can point a finger at, or I have to take responsibility for that. It's just been really busy in the office as a one-man show with no administrative help since May. And I am doing the best I can to get stuff up there in a timely fashion. I don't have a set date, but now that I do have more administrative help, I will be sharing the workload and asking Katie to help me get minutes that were approved up on the website. In terms of financial documents that are missing, I think Christine from KMC mentioned at a prior meeting that our audit can go up as public documents, but the other financial documents should not be shared. And if I'm mistaken, I'm happy to post whatever financial documents need to be posted.
Well, in the past, the financial documents were included in the board packet that was up on the website, and they're not anymore.
We got told we got told that was a mistake. I shouldn't have been putting those up there.
Okay.
Yes.
Same with board minutes that hadn't been approved.
Right, but once they're approved, then it seems to me like they would be public documents and that the public would want to have access to them. Should they have any questions about spending and expenditures?
Yeah, and I don't really truthfully see any reason not to put them up there. I was just following the advice of our financial consultant.
Well, I'm just suggesting once approved, they should be up. I understand if you don't want to put them up beforehand, although it does make my job harder. But once approved, they should be available to the public, it seems to me.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I can't say for sure. I would have to run that by our legal counsel and make sure that if that's fine, I'm more than happy to do it.
But if you could let me know what the response to that would be, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'd be happy to do that.
I would just offer the comment that depending upon what our legal counsel says, I think that as we looked at the financial report that we received today, there is a huge amount of detail in that financial report. I do not believe that that is public information. The balance sheet and the statement of operations is probably something that is a standard financial report that is put up in every business statement, financial statement, and I don't have a problem with that. Okay,
Michelle, we will make it a goal to get the website a little more up to date this week.
all right. Any matters from board members?
Maggie, you had a question earlier.
I'm to just make this more efficient. Ryan, I'm going to go through you and then you can bring the question to the groundwater management team.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other board members have anything that they'd like to discuss at this point before we move on to item 13?
Nope.
All right, well, then we're going to move on to a committee update, and this is an update from the